You're right. Always err on the side of disappointment. Hello, and welcome to another Damn Anime podcast. My name is Nick, and I'll be your host. Here with me is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah. So this is going to be a new adventure. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah. So we typically have another podcast called Another Dead Pixel about video games and other stuff. And we've always talked about anime here and there, so want to try to get into having branch that out into its own podcast. But as for what this is specifically, um, we're going to be talking about the new upcoming Nier Automata version 1.1a anime that's coming out in January 23. So this is sort of an offshoot of the normal show that we're going to be having. So um, it's sort of like an episode zero for the offshoot, but in some ways it's not actually an episode zero. We had a kerfuffle earlier when we tried to record a few hours ago, and one of us made a grievous error, and that person was me, and that caused us to run out of time. Um, but now we're back, and hopefully we've resolved the error, done a little more research, and figured out what's going on. And
Just think of it as an ending, A, and now we're on, timeline B, and here we go. So episode 0.012B. There you go.
yeah, it's like opening the airlock in chapter one of the game, and you just fly out into space, and like that's it. So that's what that other one is. But hopefully, this one will be the true ending. All that we can hope for is that we get that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. So as it stands right now, the Nier anime series has not come out yet. We wanted to do an episode zero. We kind of talk about some of the up and coming things we know, what we think is going to happen, things like that. And then once the show actually starts, we'll try to keep up with it week to week and talk about each episode in kind. Yeah. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, Joe, I guess is what is your experience with Nier in general?
All right. So for the most part, I played a bit of the first Drakengard, and then couldn't quite get into Drakengard 2 as much. When 3 came out, I just kind of left it alone.
And so, like
And then it
you
wasn't.
played those back when they came out, right? Like in the two
Yeah.
thousands.
So I was working at I used to work at a GameStop back in the day. So
Oh
yeah, it's
yeah.
like it was kind of like, dude, this is weird, and if it made, it's just like it was a neat concept. So when Drakengard 3 came out, though, I kind of fell off the series, and it wasn't until Nier the came out for the 360 in the US, and I was just like, all right, I'm kind of curious about this game. And then I found, like, after doing a dive into it, like, oh, this is related to those Drakengard games. So I kind of did my own YouTube rabbit hole, as you do, and they're like, oh, okay, this is wild. This is a lot of fun. But then, as far as Nier Automata goes, I have a handful of hours in it, and that was about all I could do at the time. I just never found the time to continue on. And yeah, that's can't you showed interest in this, and we're like, yeah, do you want me to go ahead and get in on this? And you're like, well, just you wanted me to be the fresh set of eyes because you've played this game quite a bit. So
Yeah. So I've played I played Nier Automata first, and then I had a chance to play the remake or whatever you would call it, the remaster of Nier Replicant when it came out for PC, and I've really enjoyed those games a lot. As I've kind of talked about on our other cast, and yeah, like so like when you were saying, oh, I gotta, man, if we're gonna talk about the Nier anime series, I need to go ahead and finish up at least Nier Automata the game. But yeah, I think that it'll be better for have somebody that has less experience with it, doesn't know every single beat, as it happens in the game. And like you said, can look at it with fresh eyes. And then I'm the opposite, where I have seen it, so I can point some of those things out. I think it'll be good to have that diverse kind of opinion going there. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So next up, let's talk about what we know so far. Now, this is where things went off the rails the last time we tried to record this,
Just a
uh,
little bit.
just a little bit. So I think we have our ducks in a row now. So, um, uh, the studio that is animating this show is going to be A1 Pictures. So I have a list here of some of the stuff that they've done. Um, uh, Probably the biggest thing that you and I both like from this studio is Kaguya-sama. That's just a great, hilarious anime, but also they've more recently done 86, and then Erased, Your Lie in April, Sword Art Online, and Fairy Tale are also ones that maybe not
Yeah.
quite as. Go ahead.
Closest relation to what we're about to do is, I would say, they did Persona.
Oh
They
wow, okay.
animated. They did the animations for multiple Persona projects, and so they did the Persona 4 anime, and yeah, that's actually kind of one to one, as close as we can get to what's going on right now. Because we're for someone who knows nothing about the game, you can go in and watch the anime, and that's actually what I recommended a friend do with Persona 4. Was like, yeah, just watch the anime. If you really like it, then it's going to be the watching the movie then reading the book analogy. I'm like, oh, if you like it, play the game. It'll have more fun details and more the extra goodies in there for you. You'll know the main beats, and you obviously know the kind of the punchline at the end, but you'll be happy to find the extra sprinkles in the middle. And that's exactly what they did, and they had a wonderful time with it. So that's one of the reasons why, when you suggested holding off, I'm like, you know what, okay, that sounds like a good thing. Because if I end up coming away with this being like, yeah, this was really dope, that's great, and then I can really try to get into the game, because chances are there'll be more things that they missed. Knowing Yoko Taro, they'll also have things that were just completely different, I expect. And it's just like, oh, that's the key thing for whatever, and like, who would have known? Or this will be as like 3 lines of dialogue that like kind of connect something but lead to something else. So I don't know, I'm excited about this, but at the same time, this will be much quicker than playing the game, that's for dang sure.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier. You can feed your kid while you watch this. Hopefully it's not too violent. But but yeah, like so Square Enix is the producer for this, I believe. It's definitely their property, and I don't. I mean, they have to be funding it, I would imagine. I'm kind of looking at some of the other anime recently that Square Enix has done. Uh, they've done some really good stuff, or that they've produced some really good stuff and made sure that it's well taken care of. Like the only one I can think of off the top of my head is My Dress Up Darling. That was kind of a pretty big hit from last year, and I think SquareSoft, dadgummit, damn my '90s upbringing, Square Enix. I think they're going to make sure that this property is well taken care of. So anyway, that's hopefully one more good thing that's good this anime has going for it. But like you said earlier, um, you're pretty sure that this show is going to have some different things in it, and that was the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So something else that we know is that this show is technically called Nier Automata version 1.1a, and Yoko Taro, the creator and director of the game, has said that the 1.1a is specifically different from the regular title of the game, because there will be differences. It is an anime, not a game, obviously, but there will be differences from the game, so that they can do something a little bit new and exciting. and so they had to name it something slightly different. And it is definitely in that very sort of esoteric, like why the hell did you name it that kind of way. But anyway, it's kind
I
of
also
fun.
find it really funny that it's version 1.1a done by A1 Pictures, but you know.
That's true. Yeah, and that is something that Yoko Taro. If you're watching this and you haven't played the games or you don't know too much about Yoko Taro, he is sort of, I don't know. He's sort of tongue in cheek in the same way that Kojima is, like naming a character Quiet and naming a character Sam Porter Bridges, and stuff like that. He has a different sort of style of naming convention, but there is a little joke with a lot of the things that he does. So the 1A and then the studio doing the animation being A1, there's probably something going on there, yeah. All right,
Yeah,
so
he's very eclectic. He likes to do lots of Easter eggs, or like you know he has a lot of side projects where there's collaborations, and then he'll be like, yeah, technically this is a collaboration, but we actually have canon evidence in here. Like he's the biggest collaboration more or less recently was with the Final Fantasy Online,
mm,
and there was a big Nier Automata collaboration, and apparently they had some story events that if you really know the stories, there's supposed to be some sort of connections in there. And apparently like stuff like he made an art book, and in the art book there was a page or two that had some text, and that text is actually canon as well.
yeah.
There was a live play, like like guys on stage doing a theatrical play that only aired for, like only performed like a couple times, and yep, that's also a different story that is also kind of canon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and that is going to come up here in some of the stuff that I've got the notes on. But
oh,
that
sorry if I'm jumping the gun.
no,
Yeah.
no, you're good, you're good. But Yoko Taro, that's kind of one of the things that a lot of the kind of diehard fans of the Nier and Drakengard series like about him is how he does try to connect everything, even if it doesn't always make sense or it's just kind of stupid. He does try to connect it, and he does make references to his other games, and he throws curveballs. He throws a lot of curveballs, and you think you're doing one thing and you're actually doing something else. And so I am excited to see the anime because I know there's probably going to be some stuff in there that is just going to be a bit of a mind fuck, to put it in. There's no other term for it. That's just what I think is going to happen. But anyway, so we got a couple of other things here that we know about. There've been some promotion files that have been released. We are recording this a week or two before the anime is set to air, so there might be one or two more. We might have to jump back in and discuss that if it's super important. But so far, everything has been pretty minor, mostly just kind of give you a flavor of the show and show what style they're going for. Joe, did you? I don't want to put you on a spot, but did you have a chance to watch any of the promotion files or anything like that on YouTube?
Yeah, there's currently technically like six of them right now.
Yeah,
There's 1 through 5, which are considered like file one, and then there's the file two starting. So it's what it does is it's introducing one of the characters, or a set of characters, but each file, and then they have like more or less 1 to 2 lines of dialogue, kind of giving you an understanding of how that person kind of thinks, and that is about it from what I've gathered from there. They're like 30-second spots,
yeah.
and there's actually only like out of those 30 seconds, only 10 seconds with the actual person. And it's like the others is just like the same intro and an outro. So
Yeah, so it's like really just pure flavor. Like they are showing you the actor or actress that the voice actor that is working with the character, and they're showing you some of their like movements and stuff like that. So you're seeing kind of the quality, and that's kind of cool. But like one of the things that I wasn't expecting is from one of the promotion files, we've learned that there will be a character from the manga that was not in the game or any of the games so far, um, that they're going to be putting in the anime. One named Lily, but she's also been in the stage play, which which I believe the stage play is a reenactment of some of the events or all of the events that go on in the manga. So that's definitely one thing that is going to be different from the game is if they are putting her in there. That is a new addition compared to what we had in the game. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't realize who the, like I said, unfortunately I don't know all the characters, so I was just like, I know the couple of them from the covers and from what little I played in the beginning, but then after I'm like, okay, either these guys come really later on or they could be new. So everything is like, because like there's a duo, like I don't know if they're supposed to be brothers, lovers, or whatnot, but they'll be,
oh man,
so yeah.
oh man, I cannot, I cannot wait. This is why, this is the good stuff. Yeah. So I'm not going to try to explain it because I obviously I don't want it to be spoiled for you. But it's definitely definitely a big Yoko Taro ism, whatever's going on there, and you'll learn in time, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, so kind of switching gears a little bit, getting over into kind of what we expect out of this. So I've got some thoughts on it that might be a little bit more informed. So I'd actually like you to go first. So like, what do you kind of expect from the content and the quality of what we're gonna get here?
Well, just from the studio itself, I believe that the quality is going to be solid. I mean, they've made some really good. They have really good art, and I think the overall production value should be pretty high because I think Yokotaro himself had mentioned since the I guess the surprise success of Automata, how the other executives and Square kind of treat him a little differently.
Mm,
Like because before he was just like a bit player. The first Nier was more of a cult hit in it's like, and mostly in Japan. Surprise hit with a lot of the females because they had the alternate character you played as the brother opposed to as the dad figure.
yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, when the first Near game or Replicant, or as it was, um, the remake is called. Uh, it came out on both the 360 and on PlayStation 3. And the PlayStation 3 version, which was the Japanese version, had you play as the the brother character while you played as the father character in the 360 American version, because it was looked at as America doesn't like the EK men or pretty boy character types like Metal Gear Solid 2 and like the Raiden situation, and so they want a burly dude. So that's why America 360 got the dad, and so when they did the remake, they gave us the brother character, so we got to play that storyline. Essentially, it's the same exact story with just some minor differences, like kind of towards the end, but as a whole, it's pretty much the same. So you're not really missing out on a whole lot from what I've gathered. And yeah, so that's but since his success with Nier Automata, that's uh, he has more of a budget. He can get away with more now. Whatever the next game he has in his lineup, like a full fledged game, uh, he can kind of go a little more crazy, and I think he'll be accepted as that. They won't be trying to hold his reins like, oh, you can't go over budget, because he probably has way more budget than he originally ever had.
Yeah,
So
this might be what you're alluding to, but I've read some of the things he's said in interviews, and one of the things is that like ever since Nier Automata had its big success as a game, he said that he's treated a lot differently around the office and with the higher ups. He said that they stop and like when he starts talking, that they stop and like listen to him a lot more closely than they ever did before. And he had a he had a pretty long career as a director. I mean, he directed two of the three Drakengard games and the first Nier. So he definitely had probably 10 or more years of getting to know exactly how he was to be treated and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you're right. Kind of getting back to the quality. It seems like it's going to be in good hands with A1 Animating. They seem to do a good job to an adequate job, um, and really the type of story that it is. I'm guessing here, but the type of story that it is seems to be up their alley for the kind of thing that they like to make. So I think that it's in good hands there. But like as far as the content, kind of what you were talking about near the original near replicant, and Gestalt made me think that like I wonder if they're gonna try to fit some of that in. Like if they're gonna try to have a cameo by the brother or the father from the original Nier game because they have this 1.1a moniker to the name. They might go like, oh, like we're gonna throw you a curveball, just sort of some fan service, sort of a throwback, and maybe try to fit that in. I just wonder.
Okay, I say if they do that, it'll be in the guise of having a flashback sequence. You know, like they can run multiple. There's nothing saying they can't run multiple timelines. You
It's
know, you
true.
have your current timeline with 2B and that current crew, and they can fill in the blanks or show the things that happened. You know, the thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, because that's kind of how it works. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if they hint at like showing the end of essentially Drakengard 3, because essentially the way this guy works, uh, I'm gonna get this wrong now, so I apologize, but it's like the end of Drakengard 3, the C or D ending. I think it's the C ending, is what causes the deity to fall to our earth, and then causes that they turn to ash, which causes the that snow sickness or whatever that then plagues the world. And I think that then affects Drakengard 1, which is then but also that same sickness is what gets your
In
is what near the first near game, Gestalt or Replicant, and that's what the sister is sick with, and that's what pretty much eliminates a lot of the humanity. All that stuff is intertwined, like,
tied
but
in,
it's
yeah.
with a like I said, with a not a main ending, but like the other ending. That's what made it so weird. Um,
Yeah.
and that's it's fun that way, but at the same time, it's just like it's kind of funny how it is loosely tied. He just Yoko did directed 1 and 3. 2, he was just like art director or something like that, I believe.
Yeah,
So
he just did some minor work on two, and stuff like that. But yeah, like it's I don't think it'll be like the main point, but he has thrown in the game. He has thrown in some nods to other games and stuff like that. Like I mentioned earlier, and I won't say exactly what they are, but they are kind of floating around. So I do wonder, especially with the relative success of the near replicant re-release. Um, I think that is definitely a possibility. But as far as kind of the other things that I expect content wise is I don't expect them to get all the way through the game in season one of this anime. Um, I think that they'll at least try to go for 2 seasons, if it does okay, and then I think that if it does well, that they'll try to make it last 3 seasons at least. Um, but that there is enough content in the actual game for them to go a pretty good ways here, and make it last probably. I think 3 seasons would be comfortable. I'm kind of hoping for that, but it remains to be seen.
I'm gonna have to say a hard no on that. They just how anime works, you're gonna be lucky at best to get 24 episodes. So maybe 2 seasons tops, but or they'll do the one season with 24 episodes. I can see them totally ending it after 12.
It's true.
It may not be a conclusion we're happy with, but it
But
will
yeah,
have a conclusion with maybe open-endedness. I mean, so if we're lucky, we'll get 24 episodes. Very rarely do we get like multiple seasons after that of anything. And
I guess that's
just
true.
trying to think of the history of like A1 Studios, there's been very few season twos on any of their things, with the exception of Sword Art, because they do a
Mm,
lot of Sword Art. Um, but they did, I think, Erased is 24 episodes or something close to that. So they have history of doing at least those. But it's also very hard to profit off of a long running anime series in Japan. And unfortunately, anime is treated still quite poorly. I mean, this is something that's gonna be like most anime is shown at like anywhere from midnight to like 3 a.m. It's
wow.
ridiculous. Yeah, it's like
Wow.
it's not like this is gonna be on Friday at 7. Like very few anime actually are prime time. Everything else is shunted into the middle of the night, you know, and treated like, like just like
Like the anime
unsavory.
that it is. It's just say it,
Yeah.
Joe. It's treated like the anime that it is. Yeah, you're probably right. This is probably a bit niche of a story and a show. It's not going to be quite so mainstream, even within the anime world, as a Jujutsu Kaisen or even a Sword Art Online, a Fairy Tail, anything like that. So, yeah, that's probably 3 seasons is a bit excessive. You're probably right. One good long 24 episode season is probably the best that we can hope for, and 2 seasons if we're extremely lucky, maybe a long one and a short one, something like that. But that remains to be seen. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and change my expectation down to 1 season, and maybe 12 episodes. Yeah, you're right. Always err on the side of disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, well, like they did the Black Butler series, which is one of the few that had multiple seasons, and then there's Sword Art. But for the most part, they had a lot of good stuff that like didn't get a lot of seasons onto, or like should, in my opinion, should have. But it's also easily could have been tanked due to money, right? If it didn't sell enough, they easily canned stuff.
Yeah.
Because they did Silver Spoon, which was a hilarious, like very warm, comedy like slice of life. And yeah, that got 1 season, unfortunately. They did do Working though, and Working is also a handful of seasons. I think 3.
Mhm.
So there is hope theoretically.
It just
But
depends on
just
how
keep it
much
as that.
money, like, because like a show like Working, I haven't seen it, but I would imagine that it's probably um, fairly low key, fairly low intensity in the animation, hardcore animation department, whereas like something like Nier might require a lot more action and movement and stuff like that, and that costs a lot more to animate. So it's like, well, Working may not, like, Working could have very low ratings, but if it's cheap to make, and the ratings are good enough, then they'll keep making it, because it's profitable. But another show that is more expensive to make, even with higher ratings, it just may not make the cut. So yeah, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, because I mean, like the Asterix War that they did was 24 episodes, and it finished an arc, but like it was like wide open for the end. So that's kind of something like I expected to do. Is I expect this to have an ending, as it were, but like still have open ends at the back end, and they might do something. I can see them doing something like, well, maybe a movie, and
Mm.
or like then tie into some other property because why not? If the more you can entangle this thing, it'd be like the Necronomicon. Just use it in everything. Um,
Yeah, and then and hopefully it'll catch on, and they'll be able to sell more stuff. And I know it's kind of sucks, but like the sales are what keep these series alive and keep the characters kind of going in the long term. But yeah, so that's kind of what we can hope for, I think. The last section that I wanted to talk about is sort of questions, comments, and concerns. I definitely have some here, but I wanted to throw it to you, see if you have anything that comes to mind that, I don't know, maybe you're worried about, or you think is kind of weird, or anything, I guess, extraneous that we haven't already talked about?
Not really. Only for the fact that there's so little known that I at least that I know about the anime currently. And, because chances are it's probably already been announced whether or not how many episodes have gone. Will this be? 'Cause I wouldn't be surprised if that's already out there. I just have left myself as much in the dark as possible, with the exception of those little snippet files, because it's literally just introducing character and like their mantra line or whatever. Something, they're like, um, and so other than that, it's just like I said, I've played only like maybe 5 hours of the actual game. So I wanted to make myself be surprised, and that's exactly what I expect to. So I'm not really too concerned on that front.
Well, you just made me think about um, like how many episodes there are going to be. So I decided to quick look it up. And I won't say what it is, but I'm really actually not. Um, I'm not seeing a definitive answer just on the quick 3 second Google search that I did. I'll probably look it up later, and then maybe we can have that number for for the next episode going forward. But yeah, anyway, that'd be good to know because then we could kind of expect. I mean, I kind of expect 12, um, and then hope for more. But I kind of would expect, hey, give us 12, unless it's a disaster. I think that we'll probably at least get that. So that's
Yeah, no, almost nothing ever gets a 10 or 11. Very few anime have actually ever done that. It's almost guaranteed a 12, maybe a 13. Traditionally, it's always been it used to be 12 episodes plus an OVA. But yeah, so you're guaranteed at least 12, in my opinion. Like I said, if we're lucky, we might get a 24 out of this, but I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, that's right now. I don't even know how many, like, what the full roster of characters are, because currently they have like 6 or 7 of those files out, and so that's about all they've introduced. And it's a neat way to show how, to kind of build anticipation without they don't over explain themselves, which I absolutely hate about modern trailers now. So they're doing it right, just the bare minimum.
yeah, they
They
are.
do a teaser like they should be a teaser.
Yeah, they are doing it right as far as I can tell, with not over explaining it, just giving you, okay, this is the basic idea of what we're trying to do, and this is the feeling that you're going to get from watching this. So watch it and find out. But I had a couple things here. My first concern, and it's not really that big of a deal, but listening to the Yorha commander, so she's the blonde lady in the white dress, um, hearing her voice actress, I was a little bit, like, well, okay, I guess you would want to do that. So the voice actress, or the way that they're being directed to act, is pretty tropey. Um, you're hearing the little snippets that I have heard, so it's a little bit of maybe a little bit of an overreaction, but she does seem like she's being portrayed as like the bad older woman. And in the game, it wasn't really like that. So I am kind of worried about that. It's like it's a little bit too on the nose and in your face. And in the game, it was a little bit more subdued and in the background. Um, so that was one thing. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Was it, you said Commander White was hers was just her mantra thing was just like look out, or something about humans, like always like support humans or something like that.
Glory to
Like
mankind.
that was a glory to mankind. That was it. So it just made it seem like she was not necessarily. I didn't really see anything negative on that front.
I mean, it's not like a deal breaker or anything. It was just one of those things where it was not what I am used to with playing the game, and it's kind of like it's a little bit like reading a book and then watching a movie of the character, and then the character is just, the voice is just wrong or something, and you're just like, okay. I mean, if you want to interpret it that way, then I guess you can. But I mean, I will say that what I heard from the Yorha commander, from the voice actors, it does sound like that character is supposed to sound in the anime world. I don't really know how else to put it other than like,
Yeah,
yeah,
because from just like, so literally it's just the one line of dialogue, and it was just, but it made it, her projection of the voice made it seem like it was, like she's going to be the person that, this is what all that they believe, and they're the ones who like you have to convince, but they will blindly follow their doctrine and just go straight forward.
yeah,
And so it's like it could be that until the bitter end, or it could be that bitter like reversal, like we finally broke through and now their whole world is shattered kind of deal, and like everything they thought was real is not real anymore, and oh, like like woe is them, you know how did they not realize that up was up and not up was down the entire time. But yeah, it's so I'm kind of curious, but that's no, I thought her voice was for that, the just that one line,
yeah.
it seemed suitable to me,
I'm
but yeah.
probably just overreacting. I'm just nitpicking and freaking
Did you
out
play
over
the
nothing.
original game in Japanese or did you play it in English? Just wondering.
Well, I actually played it in English, and I have played a
Okay.
little bit of it in Japanese. But I do need to get back into that. That's the way most people seem to prefer the to play it. And I haven't looked up who the dub, who the actress for 2B is going to be in the dub, but I'd hope it'd be the same as the English voice actors in the game because I thought she did a fantastic job. I know that they did get the original game voice actress for the anime for 2B, which is the main character. So, so that's one good thing. I just hope that it continues, and I think they've done that with a lot of the main characters, but I haven't checked every single one. Anyway, so another thing that I'm kind of wondering about is there is a lot of philosophy in the game. A lot of allusions to philosophers and different like ways of thinking. And I'm just wondering how much they're going to go into that, how much they're going to lean on that, if it's going to be uh, more just like alluding to it, or if they're going to try to explain more of it. It's just kind of like they could kind of go either way, I think, because the game has a good amount, but not too much. I think that they could add in some more or take out some and be just fine. So I'm not super worried about it, but it is something that I think is going to be interesting to see how they handle it. So the other things are the CG animation that I'm seeing does it looks pretty good, but some of it does kind of look like maybe it could have used another pass. But that's kind of how I feel about almost all CG animation. There is some that I see that I'm like, oh, okay, that looks good, looks right. And there's probably some that I see that I don't even realize I'm seeing that looks great. And it's just hidden like well enough. But for some of this, I was just like, okay, CG animation looks fine. But I'm just hoping that they're not showing me the very best of it, and we're gonna actually see some bad stuff out there. But I think we're probably gonna be okay for the most part.
I think of the opposite, but I'm kind of dead on the inside when it comes to Japanese and their CG animation, because Japanese CG always looks like ass, with very few exceptions. 9 out of 10 studios, when they do CG, like you'll notice the CG right off the bat. They usually do the CG to do background characters or sort or soldiers. Whenever they do humans, it looks like complete garbage. But I've kind of died on the inside because I've watched so much to the point where it's just like it just is what it is. Now, when they use CG for a monster or a machine, a mech, or something like that's a little more acceptable because uh it's not supposed to look like a human. It's not that uncanny valley where it's like, oh, it looks so close, but there's something slightly off. They're like, no, dude, we know what a human's supposed to look like, but when they do a CG, it's just garbage. And that's what happens with almost the majority of, for example, anything idol related. When they do anything dancing and the choreography, it's so much easier for them to do the CG, and it looks like horseshit. And that's what I have to say
I
is like,
I, I will say,
but in this case, I can completely see them doing it for the machines, right? The
yeah,
robots,
yeah.
any of those, and that will. that will be acceptable.
Yeah.
It may not be like as clean as you want it to be, but at least that'll be okay. What the problem is when they start doing like action scenes or high speed motion, and it's supposed to be uh the main characters, uh, who are human form. You know how they're supposed to react and how they're supposed to look. So when they do, when they start acting really like jerky, like it's granted, yeah, they are machines, but that's no excuse. They look like humans. It's just they're human character types. They should not be looking
Oh
like
yeah.
trash.
Yeah, they're you know made to look and act like and move like humans, so they have to be animated like that. Yeah, that's true. But you remember so same studio that did Kaguya-sama. Was it like first or second season where they had, I can't think of her freaking name, but the pink haired girl
The
do
rotoscoping,
do the rotoscope dance sequence. So like
season one.
to me that is what I would call CG. Like I guess it wouldn't have to be, but like the rotoscope. So they do the rotoscope and she does a dance, and then they do use, as far as I know, they use CG to kind of figure out how to animate it, and then they kind of draw over it a little bit and throw some stuff on there. So like that's sort of like the best case scenario of CG for me. Is that, am I like off base on that, do you think, or
Uh, Best case, kind of, I would say. I mean, it's just like I said, it's one of those things that you see the bad CG usually done with secondary or background characters, and it is enough to be jarring. But because it's not their main guys, it's fine.
yeah.
It's when they do the main people and like things like choreography or fight scenes, that's what makes it really terrible because you're like, this looks, not only does it look unnatural, but just the quality doesn't look that good. Um, and you'll see it, everything feels like it's a high school project, or like you
Mm,
know it, I don't know, they've been doing it for so long, you think the quality would really have gone up over time, but it hasn't. Now, I'm not saying this as far as this studio, but the Japanese industry as a whole for anime. And that's why when you do watch something where they have for example, I notice it mostly with anything dance related, idol related. Um, like if they do actual they animate it, like it may be CG still, like but like you can tell it's drawn. It's not just them putting in the program to
yeah.
do the right moves. It's like you're like, oh, that looks so much better. It is just light years apart. Your boy Kong Min, actually, there's a rival group that has a dance sequence, and there's three of them. They're doing these numbers, and like that looks good. I mean, it's laughable because some of their moves, but you're like, yeah, it's total idol dancing. Uh, but it was well done, opposed to something like was it Love Live?
Oh yeah.
Their dance sequences were so bad that it cringy every time you see it. You're like, what the hell am I watching? Because everything else is fine until they start dancing and singing. And then it's just like, who they just cut the budget and just made it look like garbage. But yeah, that is what it is. So that's a different thing to argue about.
Okay.
But when they do like the background, they do the water or something like that, or like that's okay because you're like, all right, the water is meant to be different. So when you see it looking a little poor as far as CG goes, that's okay. If you see a machine, a giant monster, that's not, it's okay to look different, but yeah, that's kind of the acceptable pass is what I'd say. So with this, you'll see a lot of it probably with the machines to make it cheaper. As far as
Yeah, I've seen some already.
if there's a low bar anywhere, that's where the low bar is. But also, you're talking about Nier Automata is not a pretty looking game as far as the background goes.
No,
It
it's
is very
not.
sparse, it's the most minimalistic. It is damn near a PS2 background. Like
Yeah.
so honestly, that the bar is already set pretty low. So long as the character movements look okay, I think it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. Okay, yeah. I guess I guess that's the best we can hope for, and maybe we'll get some more good stuff out of it in the long run. But that's pretty much all that I had. Is there anything else that you've got, Joe, that you want to mention?
No, I mean, we're gonna try to do our best to get this out as quickly as possible. The goal is to make these short little bites, and so yeah, we will do our darndest. I think the first episode is actually
The first,
January 1st,
yeah,
2023. So depending on how that airs, like in real time and how we can get it to watch, how we're able to watch it. We're not really sure about the logistics of that one.
yeah.
Um,
It might be a day or two, but that's just real life. And we'll just do our best to get it out as fast as reasonably possible. But it's gonna be pretty tough. But we'll see what we can do, and just hope for the best.
yeah, it'll be a fun new adventure. Let's see how this goes, and we'll make the best of it, I guess, right? So yeah, thanks a lot for for joining us on this new one, and let's see how this goes.
Let's see how it goes. All right, that's gonna be it for us today. Hope to see you next time. All right, bye.
Take it easy.